It's time to get educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the program. I am, of course, Katie Patrick, and there's some other guy who's sitting over there. I think his name is John or something, but I'll call him David Fioraza for now. As always, please do share this video with every one of your closest friends, and maybe even your closest enemies. Well, who am I kidding? Just share it with everyone. All right, we have got a great show lined up for you today, and we're going to kick things off with everyone's favorite education guru, the great Alex Newman.
Thanks, guys. Hey, great to be with you. And so we have another crazy so-called education story for you this week, folks. The Biden administration, with the cooperation of Congress, is showering gazillions of dollars, no, technically just billions, but billions of dollars on schools and states and school districts under the guise of promoting full-service community schools and mental health. So really what's going on here, folks, and we've touched on these full-service community schools before, but what's going on here is these institutions, I call them parental replacement centers, they are being empowered to basically replace the family and replace the church as the center of the child's life. They feed the child, they care for the child, they basically take care of the child in every way other than maybe bedtime stories and things. Right now on the screen, you see the whole school, whole community, whole child model. This is an abomination being promoted by the U.S. Centers for Disease Control. Yes, the same quacks that spent a long time misleading us on numerous different issues. So this is very, very dangerous, folks. But these full-service community schools, if you read the federal documents that talk about them, it becomes very clear that they want to displace parents, displace family, and displace religion, and make the government, and in particular the government schools, the center of life, the center of the community. And they basically want them to take over the dental health, the mental health, the primary health care, the nutritional needs of your child. In many cases, these schools will be feeding your child 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They offer what they describe as wraparound services, which don't even get me started. But again, basically, these are all these functions that parents used to traditionally take care of with their children. These are increasingly being moved over to the government's responsibility under the guise of these full-service community schools. Now, if you read the federal documents about these grants and about these new funding streams, they say that these federally funded schools, and I'm quoting here, are designed to meet the social, emotional, physical and mental health and academic needs of students, right? And for thousands of years of human history, parents were in charge of the social, emotional, physical, and mental health and academic needs of children. But under this new model, these full-service community schools will be handling that. That's why I call them parental replacement centers. And folks, don't think that parents are off the hook, right? It's not that they're just going to take your children and then you can just kind of go have fun and play volleyball or go fishing, right? They are coming for you too. If you read the documents again, these full-service community schools are targeting parents. They talk about family services, adult education. They have parenting education, right? So that you take care of the baby slaves. The citizens, the way that the government thinks you need to take care of them. And we've exposed some of these things before, folks. Even back during the Obama administration, the Biden regime, they were peddling this idea. In fact, the Department of Health and Human Services back during the final waning years of the Obama administration put out a joint policy document where they said parents could be equal partners with the government in the raising of their own children. But of course, as you read the document, it becomes very clear that the parents will be the junior partners. The parents will basically do what the government says, and if they don't, well, then they have an escalating set of interventions that they will undertake up to and including taking your children from you using child welfare bureaucrats funded, again, by the federal government, who get bonuses from the federal government to come in and take your children, to over-medicate your children, to diagnose your children with all kinds of quack labels and put them on amphetamines, put them on dangerous psychotropic drugs, etc. And here we go. Here's another thing right from the U.S. Department of Education, folks. These grants will help community schools provide quality wraparound services to students and their families, from access to healthcare and nutritional assistance to tutoring and enrichment opportunities to mental health supports and violence prevention programs, folks. All right, folks, wraparound services. In other words, they're going to wrap their big brother government arms around your children and provide all kinds of services until you can't take any more services, folks. This also is partnered with the mental health stuff, folks. The Biden regime is asking Congress for $125 billion, $127 billion over the next 10 years for mental health garbage for your children, folks. To put that number in perspective, the annual GDP of the state of Vermont is $36 billion, folks. So $127 billion will buy you a whole lot of mental health. Okay, if a psychiatrist costs $100 an hour, you can figure that's an enormous amount of mental health services. Obviously, a lot of that's just going to go straight into the pockets of big pharma. Right, Pfizer didn't get enough money from these injections that obviously don't prevent infections. They didn't get enough money from this ridiculous Paxlovid that Biden took it, got COVID again. Fauci took it, got a rebound case of COVID. So they didn't get enough. So now they're going to be pumping even more money into these big pharmaceutical companies in bed with the government to help them out a little bit. And of course, folks, the side effects of these. I encourage you to read the box warnings and labels that come with these drugs. They are bad news. They may cause suicidal ideation, homicidal ideation. Oops, the kid shot up the school. Who would have ever guessed? We just need more mental health services, right? You see how that works? Folks, this Biden regime is weaponizing our schools against family, against church, against our country, and we must resist. It's unconstitutional. It's outrageous. It's an assault on civilization. It is, in essence, Marxism, right? The state replaces God. The state replaces family. So families, protect your kids from this. State and local governments, you need to protect your constituents from this. Our freedoms and our country depend on it.
With all the censorship taking place on social media platforms, we've made it easy to keep up with your favorite content. Simply download the Freedom Project Media app in your app store. Get access to 18 new videos a week, plus thousands of archived shows, lecture series, and educational animations. Download the Freedom Project Media app on your Apple TV, Roku, tablet, or phone, and make sure you allow for notifications to keep you informed.
It's time now for Reclaiming America with our very own counterculture mom, Tina Griffin. Tina, welcome back.
Hey, welcome to you too, counterculture mom. How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine, except now I'm creeped out by the eyes behind you.
I was just going to say, Demi Lovato's not doing too good. You can see she got smashed in the head by a crystal.
What? This
Yeah,
serves
I
as
know.
today's public service announcement, everyone. They say that you get, you play with fire, you get burned while you play with crystals. And Tina, tell me what's going on here.
It's just absolutely ridiculous. Here's the irony with all this. We just shot 4 people in a row. When I say shot, I mean production studio. 4 people came on to talk about New Age this week, which is coming out next week on Freedom Project right here. Check it out on the Counterculture Mom Show. But they explain in detail, these ex-New Agers, of why you want to run from crystals, but this takes it to a whole new level. You could get injured when the funny thing is most of these celebrities in Hollywood Hills use the crystals for healing powers. She is not using it the right way. I guess she bent over to pick something up off the floor a couple days ago here, went on TikTok to let her fans know. In the process of getting what she needed, she smashed her head on one of her crystals in her mansion there that she actually uses for healing powers. So it turned on her.
Well, no, I think it turned her for the good. It woke her up because breaking news here, Demi Lovato has decided that she's going to go by, she and her pronouns. She said that nobody's perfect. Well, I'm glad to hear it.
Hey, I never made the connection, but maybe that smash in her head with this so-called healing property actually had her get back on the straight and narrow with using the right pronouns. Everything, I guess, can be used for good.
I'm thinking that had to be what happened because, Demi Lovato came out all saying that I'm going to use the they, them, whatever pronouns, but now she's saying that I'm more feminine right now, so I guess that's cool to be she and her again. This is what we get from the Hollywood folk.
Absolutely. The truth is coming out. I just want to give a little depth to the crystals if you're not familiar with this. I have a lot of families that are actually blowing up our social media over the last couple of years saying, hey, my kids are really into New Age. Why are a lot of kids tampering with the New Age ordeal? It's because a lot of pop culture is getting them involved in that. A lot of makeup companies like Sephora is doing New Age. I just found out, yes, you got to watch the episodes to find out more info on this. Young Living Essential Oils is now doing the New Age deal. A lot of Christians are getting out of there. So be alert, be awake, check out these episodes coming out, but you absolutely want to run from New Age. And a lot of young kids are getting sucked in. And a lot of these celebrities are also promoting it. It's been used for many, many years, hundreds of years, to heal emotional, physical, psychological, and spiritual issues, according to what the New Agers think, but it actually does the exact opposite. Now, according to Demi, we can get injured in the process. So run from crystals and anything New Age.
Unless, I guess, if you're not using the proper pronouns, then maybe use a crystal for a moment until you get hit in the head, and then you're okay, and then get rid of them. I think that's where we're at.
That's where you're coming from on that angle. You know, I don't need any more, you know, craziness come up. But yes, that might work. That might work.
Well, we also are going to talk a little bit about movies, because everyone loves watching a movie, especially in the summertime here. What about the DC League of Super Pets? Is this something that we should be tuning into?
You know what? It could be worse, but at the same time, that's what a lot of these New Agers, once again, have talked about last week on a series that's coming out this next week, is that a lot of times comedy and superhero movies like this are purposely brainwashing our kids. Now, I used to be like, okay, it could be worse, you know, but no, when I look at it, just doing the review on it, watching the trailer, which we're going to see here in a minute, this new superhero movie, DC League of Super Pets, is one of the latest movies that Hollywood has released for kids that I would say 2 thumbs down on. It's an animated movie. Superman escaped Krypton before the planet exploded, and his super pup Krypto was also there along for the ride. However, when they reached Earth, they both gained their superpowers from the sun. That's one thing I pointed out to me. You're looking to the sun, which is very New Agey. And now they both fight crime in Metropolis side by side. Superman's captured by a supervillain like you hear in all these movies. However, Krypto teams up with his band of superpowered animal misfits and form the DC League of Super Pets. However, Hollywood spoils it with content that's inappropriate for kids, and here's why. The pets, there's an overly sexual pet, come on people, and another has a foul mouth, and of course there's never-ending LGBT agenda present, as 2 women are said to be engaged and 2 men seem to be romantically involved. Keep that out of the movies. We just want to see pets, people. We just want our pets back.
That's correct. Well, let's give a visual for the parents watching to let them know exactly what you're talking about.
My dog's the best, but he's not the greatest with other animals.
What is new with you, fellow normal dog?
I bit the FedEx guy the other day.
Who was he working for? General Zod? The Legion of Doom?
FedEx.
Of course, the Federation of X's. Not to be trusted.
Sorry, you were saying something?
How much did you have to drink?
I had 2 toilet bowls and a bidet too, which is crazy. I didn't even know that was a thing, but it's like a dog water fountain.
Oh.
Out of the way, cat child. Ace, deploy canine shield.
What is a canine?
Evade! Excellent shielding. That seemed incredibly painful.
Anybody want to switch powers?
That trailer looked hilarious. Most parents are going to want to take their kids to go see it. Finally, a great movie, but they're going to be indoctrinated with the stuff that we just rattled off. It's a PG movie, but according to God, it's a no-go. Watch Paws of Furry instead. Paws of Furry, The Legend of Hank. Check that out. You can find out more about that movie, watch the trailer, all of it, in our Counterculture Mom app. Download it. It's $5, one-time fee, no more monthly business. One-time $5, grab it, get it. Get all your killer content that's positive. Counterculture Mom app, download it anywhere, and you will love it. Our team pumps out a lot of positive content that kids love, parents love, and it can replace the junk that we just talked about.
Today's show is sponsored by our friends at MyPillow. Save up to 66% on all items at MyPillow.com when you use the code Dr. Duke. That's DRDUKE. Support this show by supporting a great American company.
It's time for Trending Left. And if this is your first time joining us, I do advise you to please brace yourself, because it's about to get cuckoo in this joint. We're going to start today in the Big Apple, where a video has just leaked of a drag queen that reportedly was invited to speak and perform for students at, wait for it, I want to make sure I say this right, Grace Church High School in New York. Yes. Apparently, the school hosted the drag queen for their annual LGBTQ Pride Chapel. Here's a taste of the rainbow.
Her name is Britta Filter, and she is the Queen of New York. Yeah!
Yeah. Now, just a little suggestion. I would love to see the Pride community try that maybe in a mosque next year. Just a little suggestion. But wait, here's a social media post from the drag queen who delighted so many. At the Britta Filter says, I literally went to church to teach children today. A Catholic high school here in NYC invited me to their Pride Chapel. Visibility matters, and I'm so honored to have had the chance to talk to you about my work as an LGBTQ plus drag queen activist. I did not realize that when you walk into the church and go towards the altar that now, hey, that's just the runway from here on out, apparently. Now, speaking of woke education, a teacher has taken to the TikTok to coach other supposed educators on how a simple student survey apparently gives him all the power in the world to hide things from parents. I present the skewed liberal thinking of modern-day educators.
Something really inspiring and also a little bit concerning I'm hearing a lot of teachers talk about is asking students their pronouns. This tells me that these teachers really care about their trans and non-binary students and want to make them feel comfortable in class. Unfortunately, asking about pronouns can make trans and non-binary students more uncomfortable because they're forced into a situation where they either need to lie or are forced to come out when they're not ready to. That's why this year I created these survey cards that ask students their pronouns, if they're comfortable with me using those pronouns in front of their peers, and definitely if they're comfortable with me using those pronouns with their parents and families. My cards also ask students the name they want to be called in class, as well as their most trusted adult in the building.
Wait a minute. I thought having any sort of ID is somehow racist, bigoted, all this other things going against the democracy of this country, blah, 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 blah. Or is that only for voting and, getting other things such as a driver's license? We can't do that, but we can do this because it's for pronouns. Sure, why not? Well, maybe you may be saying to yourself, Katie, I remember learning about gender and pronouns back in middle school, but we only had 2 genders back in those days, all of 5 seconds ago. And you would be right. It was a much simpler time. But today here, not 5 minutes ago, middle school is when the trans surgery happens. So kids need to be educated much, much earlier. Like when they're, 3, 4 years old. Because any later than that makes it much harder for the Rainbow Mafia to convince children that their agenda is completely normal. I give you that statement straight from the unicorn's mouth.
We need to talk to preschoolers about sexuality and gender because any later is too late. The long answer to this is that this is the age when children start to self-identify. They start to understand themselves and in relation to the world around them. They need to understand different gender diversity because the Academy of Pediatrics actually says that most children have a solid understanding of their gender identity by the age of 4, and that is inclusive of cis as well as trans and non-binary kids. Preschoolers are exposed to sexuality every day. Just look at literally any Disney movie where there is heterosexual kissing. Once you get past this age, it's a lot harder to undo and complicate the ideas of the kind of cis heteronormative world that these kids and we are in.
That is the best advertisement for why you should keep your kids at home as long as possible and not push them into these government schools where, yes, in preschool, they are going to put this onto your child because instead of learning that they should treat each other with respect and start to learn how to read and then to write and, color inside the lines, something silly like that, instead, what their focus is pushing sexuality on your children. But not just male, female, 2 genders. Like we all learned. They're pushing all the things that we've been talking about for years now. And speaking of the pushing the pride agenda as early as possible, an elementary teacher in Minnesota is giving her recommendations for kindergarten through second grade summer reading. I introduce you to Jack, Not Jackie, a book about a cross-dressing transgender toddler. Just what every school principal should be recommending for 5-year-olds. Bring on all that edumacating stuff, please.
I've been doing some reading this summer, and so I thought I would share a couple of books because you have a little bit of time left to do some reading. I also read Jack, Not Jackie by Erica Silverman. Phenomenal read. So if you're a K1, 2, 3 even, it's a really good read called Jack, Not Jackie. And I really enjoyed that, and I'm excited it'll be on our shelves in the media center this fall.
Yes, and I'm sure she got a sticker from the children's librarian for finishing it because she was so proud that she was able to read that entire book, which shows you how well she reads. Now, finally, we're going to wrap things up with the latest case of TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. This poor woman seems to be caught in a world where she is constantly burdened by the fact that she might find out that anyone who breathes air around her may have voted for DJT. Not to worry, operators are standing by as we speak to find a cure for whatever this woman has.
Now, 2022, I'm looking at the receptionist at the doctor's office and wondering if she's a Trump supporter. I'm wondering if my mechanic voted for Trump. I don't want you fixing my car, right? At the supermarket, the cashier who's ringing me through. Did you vote for Trump? Because I don't want you ringing my up. My dentist, don't be drilling me if you voted for Trump. Is anybody else like me?
Unfortunately, yes. But maybe you can all just go hang out together, and maybe someone's a mechanic in that group, or someone can ring up your groceries because you can go off and live in your commune together. Well, thankfully, though, that's going to wrap up this segment. More craziness next time.
If you have a question, please send it our way by emailing askduke@fpeusa.org.
Woo! That's gonna do it today for this show. David, did you learn anything today?
Every day I learn something from you and these ridiculous stories. So until next time, friends, stay educated.